Hi everyone, this is Amy Hollingsworth, and this is going to be what we'll be doing for our Thursday sessions. And I will do a screencast of the primary screen, and then you'll be able to follow along on the PowerPoint as we go along. And I'll try and break these up into about 10-minute chunks so that when I upload them to YouTube, if you need to restart a 10-minute chunk, or you want to watch them in pieces, you can do that. Or if you need to take a bathroom break or run and get some dinner, you can do that also. See, I'm always thinking. So this will be our second day of class, August 29th. And we will be starting on Chapter 1, but there were a couple of slides that we have left over from our PowerPoint that we were working on Tuesday. And so the fourth section of what we're going to be talking about in natural sciences biology is some of the impacts of human actions on our environment, on our ecosystem, and how that affects everything that's around us. We've all been around enough that we understand the Gulf oil spill, where we had an oil spill in the wow, that's really terrible that I can't even remember where it was. That we had an oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico, and then where we've tried to burn oil off, and where we've seen animals that have been covered in oil. So we'll be looking at things like how do things affect populations, and how does population ecology work. As you can see, we have a big group of pink flamingos, and of course any one of those pink flamingos may have variations or mutations in their DNA, which then can go on to change the population. But if you just look at it, you think, oh, those pink flamingos are the same, but in reality they are all individuals. We will look at how those interactions happen within the environment, and how the environment can have an effect on different types of populations. We will be looking at ecosystems and communities. This is a community of different types of plants growing in a river valley, and how the environment can have an impact on those different types of communities. Looking at what are ecosystems, how is weather created, how do energy and chemicals flow through ecosystems, how do species interact with one another in the structure of communities, and how do those communities either remain stable or change over time. Finally, we'll end off the semester with conservation and biodiversity, which is often one of the things that students are the most interested in, looking at the ways humans influence the environment, and how if we don't go through certain types of conservation actions, that we can actually lose biodiversity here on Earth, and that can have a detriment to the humans along with everything else. We'll be looking at what is biodiversity, how does extinction happen, how do human interferences generally reduce biodiversity, and talk about some of the different ways scientists have come up with strategies for conserving different types of biodiversity. So getting into Chapter 1, where we're talking about what is science. Science in the Latin terminology means to know. Science is not just one thing. It's not just looking at things underneath a microscope, or just going out and saving the animals. Science is actually a big body of knowledge and a way of understanding about the world around us. We go through a process of inquiry, which means asking questions, and a process of learning. You can have scientific inquiry, scientific learning. Science is a pathway in order to discover and understand the world around us. It's empirical, which means that it's testable. And also, science is a human endeavor. A lot of people talk about science being one of the best ways to know about the world around us, because science is a collection of facts. But we have to remember that science is done by humans, and sometimes humans make mistakes. Sometimes those mistakes are intentional, and then of course sometimes mistakes are just mistakes. We couldn't have known that it was going to happen. One of the things that I hope that you will be able to do through this course is be able to develop a sense of biological literacy, which means basically in order to have a working knowledge of how the living things here on Earth work, how they interact, and how they can be good for you, bad for you. Being literate is a necessity in this type of environment. We see lots of health issues, like I had said that I'm diabetic, and so that affects me. There's people that have cancer. There's other types of communicable diseases like the cold or flu or HIV and AIDS. Biological literacy is a necessity as far as some of the social, medical, political impacts. Sometimes our government decides to spend money on preserving different types of organisms, or on health care, or on treatment for diseases. It can have an impact on our economy, and there can even be legal issues surrounding science, like should scientists be able to do stem cell research? Is stem cell research killing babies, or should that be something that should be able to be done? Stem cell research is not that, but sometimes it's seen that way. Biological literacy also allows us to think creatively. One of the most interesting things that I think I've heard since I came to the university is that a lot of the professors here are doing research in the biology department on what's called biomimicry, which is basically figuring out solutions to problems through the ways that nature has solved those problems. So if you ever hear that here at the University of Akron that people are doing research on the toes of geckos, they're trying to find out if they can make a sticky material in order to walk up walls, or in order to stick. There are researchers doing research on spider silk, and so they're looking at how spider silk is made by spiders, and it's so strong that they might be able to make things like bulletproof vests out of it. There's another professor here that does research on fossils that have been found of a cross between a dinosaur and a bird, and he looks at what color were the feathers when he can only look at the fossilized structure of them. So obviously the feathers have been gone for millions and millions of years, but he's able to figure out what color they are based on these little parts of the cells that shine iridescently. So biology can also help us communicate with other people. Like I said, we'll talk a little bit about the evolution of animal behavior. And then finally, it helps to integrate into our decision making. So if you are biologically literate, you'll be able to make better decisions about your health care, better decisions about social issues, medical issues, political issues. All kinds of different things are enhanced through understanding things about biology. I think I had shown you this picture before of Jane Goodall. She is such an interesting figure in biology because she went to Africa and decided that she was going to live among the wild animals. There are some movies that have been made about her. We'll talk about that a little more coming up in Chapter 1. So how is science a different way of knowing? There are lots of different ways that we know and understand our universe. Some of them can be historical. We understand what's happened in history, and as people have done research about some of the actions that happened in the past, we can understand that better. There are ethical ways of knowing. What's the difference between right and wrong? There are political ways of knowing. There are religious ways of knowing. But science is a different way of knowing about the universe because science is considered empirical. Empirical knowledge is based on experimentation and observation. So that means we can do tests over and over and over again, and if something proves to be false, then we correct it and move on. Scientists use the scientific method in order to produce empirical results. So some of you may have heard of hypotheses or theories or scientific laws. Science is this testable thing, and that makes it so that we can know more about our universe around us. And I'm going to stop this YouTube recording here, and I'll move